Hello, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me pay my higher respect to our lecturer, Makara, lecturer of Human Rights and Global Justice. My name is Chhay Ratana. My other friend named Nimol and Makara, and we are from Group 2. Today, we are so delighted to be here to present about the activist who inspired us, and he is Martin Luther King Jr. And for me, I'm going to tell you all about his biography. For Nimol is going to tell you all about his journey in advocating for human rights and the right he fought for. And for Makara is going to tell you all about his philosophy, strategy, and our opinions about him. Now let's get into my point about his biography. King was born in January 15, 1929, Atlanta, Georgia, U.S., and he died in April 1968, Memphis, Tennessee by assassinations. King is a Baptist minister and social activist who led the civil rights movement in the United States from the mid-1950s. And his leadership was fundamental to that movement's success in ending legal segregation of African Americans in the South and other parts of the United States. King rose to national prominence as head of the Christian leadership, which promoted nonviolent tactics such as Massive March Washington 1963 to achieve civil rights. When he was young, he attended segregated public school and graduated from high school at the age of 15. And also he received his BA degree in 1948 from Morehouse College, a distinguished Negro institution of Atlanta. After that, he enrolled in graduate study at Boston University, completing his residence of doctorate in 1953, and he received his degree in 1955. And after that, he became a member of the executive committee at the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, the leading organization of its kind and in the nations. And because of the bus boycott, he was arrested and his home was bombed, and he was subjected by personal abuse. But at the same time, he emerged as the leader of the first rank. In the 11 years between 1957 until 1968, King traveled over 6 million miles and spoke over 2,500 times, wherever there was injustice, protests, and actions. In total, King was arrested upward 20 times and assaulted at least 4 times, but also was awarded honorary degree, was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1963, and became not only the symbolic of leader American blacks but also a world figure. At the age of 35, Martin Luther King Jr. was the youngest man to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. And when he was notified by his elections, he announced that he would turn over the prize money over $54,123 to the furtherance of the civil rights movement. Now let's get into the next point.
As a civil rights leader, he worked for and gave his life to end racial segregation and racism in the United States. King attracted national attention in 1955 when he and another civil rights activist were arrested after leading a boycott in Montgomery, transportation company, for requiring non-whites surrender their seat to white and stand or sit at the back of the bus. Over the following decade, King wrote, spoke, and organized nonviolent protests and mass demonstrations to draw attention to racial discrimination and to remain the civil rights legislation to protect the rights of African Americans. In 1963, in Birmingham, King guided peaceful mass demonstrations that the white police was countered with the police dog and fire hoses. Subsequent mass demonstration in many communities culminated in march that attracted more than 250,000 protesters to Washington, where the king delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech, in which he envisioned a world where people were no longer divided by race. So powerful was movement King inspired Congress enacted the civil rights. Posthumously awarded Presidential Medal of Freedom, King is an icon of the civil rights movement. His life and work symbolize equality and non-discrimination that lie at the heart of African and human dream. Martin Luther King Jr.'s first by advocate, a Baptist minister, and the role the prayer play in Martin Luther King Jr.'s work is captured in recollection from his wife, Loretta King. One very difficult day when he came home from the stress that came with his leadership, at the middle of the night, he awakened by a threatening phone call, and one of many he received throughout his movement. He began to worry about his family and all the burden that came with his movement. And he prayed aloud to God, Lord, I am taking stand for what I believe is right, and people looking for me for leadership. If I stand before them without strength or courage, they will falter. I have come to this point that I can't face it alone. And after that, he could hear the voice saying, stand for righteousness, stand for truth, and God will be our side forever. And after that, King was imbued with a new sense of confidence, and he was ready to face anything. So this is about the Martin Luther King Jr.'s journey in advocating for human rights. And Martin Luther King Jr. was one of 20th century best known advocates for nonviolent society. And he was a man who fought for social equality for our citizens. King's civil rights movement lasted around 1955 to 1968. Its goal was to abolish racial discrimination in many areas, including employment, transportation, voting, and education. Notable legislation during this time is the first one is Civil Rights Act in 1964, disband discrimination, employment, and public accommodation based on race, color, religion, and national. And the second is about voting rights Act in 1965. This act restored and protected the right to vote. And the third is Immigration and National Services Act in 1965. This restore immigration from group other than those from the traditional European countries. And the last one is Fair Houses Act in 1968. This ban houses discriminations in both rent and rental and sales.
By drawing from both his Christian faith and peaceful teaching of Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. King has led a non-violence movement in the late 1950s and 60s to achieve legal equalities of African Americans in the United States. While others were advocating for freedoms by any means necessary, including violences, Dr. King used the powerful of words and acts of non-violent resistance such as protest, grassroots organizing, and civil disobedience to achieve seemingly impossible goals. He went on to lead similar campaigns against poverty and international conflicts. He always maintaining fidelities of his principles that men and women everywhere, regardless of colors or creed, are equals of human families. Here are 6 principles of nonviolence. You can see on his first book, Stride Toward Freedoms. Those 6 principles are: principles number 1, nonviolence is the way of life for courageous people. Principle 2, nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Principles number 3, nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Principles number 4, nonviolence holds that suffering can be educated and transformed. Principles number 5, nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. Principles number 6, nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice. Dale Carnegie once says, do not deal with the creatures of logic, deal with the creatures of emotions. The King's strategies of nonviolence movements is one of the world's most effective strategies in human history. Not every man can do this. Considering on the Khmer proverb one says, imagine when a man is having so much pressure and you put so much pressure on him, he might definitely go under depressed and desperate. But what if you always stay on the man's back and you put your hands on his shoulders and ask him properly and talk to him properly? Sure, he might reply to you properly and peacefully. See, that man is the government, which have so much responsibilities, so much works, and so much things to do by running the countries already. And you are Martin Luther King, which led the non-violence movement. You will not be able to put more pressures on the government, right? You just use the non-violence movement. You just put your hand on the man's shoulders. You just put your hand with the government and ask him properly and require him properly. Sure, he might reply with you peacefully. Yes. So non-violent principles is for all of us younger generations. Martin Luther King Jr. is our role model that we must learn and act right now. Each and every one of us right here and right now can be the human rights activists. We just have to have the courage and the belief systems that we can do this. Please know that human rights are for all of us, and all of us are for human rights. Thank you.